And so
We're
here we are.
live.
It's Friday. It must be 2:30, 3:30 where I am. And
Yes, 2:30 in Austin too.
I hear it's a little warmer in Austin than it is here in Canuckville, Canada, where it's actually shorts and T-shirts and I'm outside finally.
Your background is different, definitely very different.
I'll
Something's
talk about
going
that.
on. Yeah. How's it going, Dan?
It's going good. Yeah, it's 90 degrees. Nice and warm. A little bit of humidity. Not too bad.
How's
know.
life in Georgetown? Like 20 miles away from me.
I understand you're looking at places up here, so
Yeah.
we'll have to get you. We'll have to get you acclimated.
Yes.
Have you come out for a appropriately social distance party?
I just need a huge backyard or land for all my antennas. I want to run mono bands for every single band. Is that too much to ask?
You just need, property. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
I have a 70-foot Roan 45 going in here in about 30 days, so I'll have a real antenna finally. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Do you live in an HOA?
No, I moved into a non-HOA area, so
You're free.
I am a free man.
Great.
Yeah,
great.
I just couldn't move into an HO area.
It's complicated. Hello, Raymond, Alan. People are starting to show up on our weekly live stream. We thank every single one for supporting
Alan,
us.
I'll even talk about the pies.
Oh, like pies? Is that something that I can eat?
Blueberry
pie.
Oh, we got someone from the UK on. Hi, Ray.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
We have Travis.
Pennsylvania.
Travis is a regular.
Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah. At the end of our live stream, you can pop up some questions if you want. We're going to do our best with the time that we're going to spend talking with Dan and try to answer any questions that you might have. So this is our third or fourth live stream. Mike, I think our fourth, right? Fourth. Well, we'll eventually get there, these are our first steps into this. So bear with us, please. Hi, Rich, Travis. It's a raspberry.
Ah, bonjour from Montreal. And no, I took French for 8 years and I still can't speak it, Steve, so I apologize.
Good.
That was Ontario teaching French. So
I would love to know little words here and there for every single language. David from Texas. Let's go, Texas. Good.
I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as soon as I could.
I'm going to use that line. Dan, can I? Do I have your permission?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
So go ahead, talk about Travis's comment there, JP. And Dan will like to hear this because he's like the last line of the way out the door. By the way, while he's reading that, Travis, here's my PGXL, and you notice there's not a lot of cooling space around it, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, the PGXL is specifically very well designed for digital modes, FT8. I have mine right here, and it's a beauty. It's been running since I think 2 weeks, almost nonstop. Almost. Yeah.
So we'll get sort of started a bit. So today we have Dan Quigley as our service manager, service and support. So Dan's going to talk about that. But you'll notice today I'm not in my studio. I am at the place where the remote base is, and this is my remote base. And it's been about a 15-year project. I'm actually in a boathouse. There's water right here. The guys saw the little temporary table I put down in place, and Raymond, this amp won't keep this shack warm. I've seen 30 below Celsius in this shack and about 0 in here when the door closes. So, I'll do a quick tour, but this is a 6600 and then this is a 6700 that's here for testing and demoing stuff, and it's on its own antenna. But everything's jammed in here. There's Raspberry Pis that make sure the internet stays up, and if the internet goes down, the first thing it says it does is reboot everything, because that's the first thing your ISP wants you to do is, have you rebooted your modem? Yes, I have. So that's what, this one does here. It actually records the water level too, but that's the advantage of things like Raspberry Pis. And I've got web switches, and if you're a fan of lightning maps, this is a lightning map receiver here, and there's a that's just a VLF or set of antennas out there, and a cedar tree made out of hockey sticks. And we got a bunch of different things, but I do actually have a whole video of this that I will post. I need to polish it a bit, but it's a complete walkthrough of all the bits here. So, but this is where it is. The fan you hear running, by the way, if you can hear it, is not a PGXL fan. There's a big 115 volt fan at the top of this box. It's actually controlled by a Raspberry Pi and Node-RED, and that just helps to keep this box cool. And I have 3 unique fan systems, all separate. So in case one fails, the other 2 continue on. There's something else I wanted to say. That JP and I were having this conversation about an hour ago before our staff meeting about, I've been here about 3 years now, and I have to admit, we have the best customers. I have some amazing conversations with some customers. Okay, there's a couple that are memorable, but in my first 6 months, one of the best conversations I had with a gentleman out of Dallas, and Houston rather, and he was a NASA mission commander, and he spent an hour and a half talking to me and telling me all the inside stuff about Apollo 11 and Apollo 13, and I was a space junkie, as a lot of hams were, and it was just really cool. So I was, and it just goes on and on. We have people who live all over the world. We have people who live in camps. They run on solar power. They're pilots. They're doctors. They're lawyers, or they've invented something really cool, maybe not amateur radio related. So, and JP, so you've been here, what, a month and a half?
Yeah, a month and a half, and yeah, I had amazing conversations on the phone. Also, our community on Facebook, it's great. Anybody that has a question, or they're trying to do something and they don't know the answer, they just can post it, and well, they got flooded with tons of different options and ways to do what they want to do, right? Dan, I'm sure you are on that forum quite often. Hello, Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you said the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was part of JP's interview loop, and we had a very interesting conversation when we started. And just like Mike, I've had I was a space nut when I was a kid, and there was something that really amazing that caught my interest early on. Was in between the solar cycle 20, which peaked between 1968 and 69. That was right before the Apollo landing. There was a sunspot peak, and my friend and I would be using walkie-talkies, CB radio walkie-talkies, to keep track of each other during our paper route deliveries. And we started hearing people from all over the country, just like showing up on our radios. And
Channel 11.
Yeah, well, I forget what channel it was, but that really was the thing that sort of kick-started things, and it's been a great thing for me, and my it has definitely kept my interest. And
I have a very funny story to share. And Brian McIntosh just logged in. I had a phone call with him this morning, and he was on the bus on the first time that Flex Radio had a booth on a HamFest. I believe it was Dayton. Do you remember that, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, and he had a conversation with Gerald. That was like 10 years ago. He told me that this morning. And by the time he had that conversation with Gerald, he was like, well, I don't know about smart SDR, and I'm not sure about this. And now he got back to the hobby, because he was off the hobby for 10 years, and he's completely blown out. He called me this morning. He's deciding in between a 6600 or a 6400, and we had a great conversation on the phone, and he just logged in. So I hope that my conversation helped you decide, Brian. Let me know.
So, JP, speaking of the models of the radios, now we did our virtual date and sale. We've carried that on into Memorial Day weekend, and by the way, thank you to all the veterans out there and all your contributions and et cetera. The same to all our frontliners that are taking care of our COVID issues. As I said a couple of weeks ago, it's not what you signed up for, but it's like just goes with it. It goes with the job. So thank you for that. But anyway, so what have you got for deals? What's going on now for Memorial Day weekend? And I guess that'll run till Monday or Tuesday anyway.
Yep, it's going to run until the 25th. So we have discounts on mostly every single radio. I'm going to just go over a little bit our major.
So let's call this a commercial.
Sorry.
Let's call this a commercial.
Kind of. It's like a teaser. It's like a teaser.
Okay.
Talking about a teaser before I jump into the numbers. Yeah,
well,
let me show you guys
amazing.
something. Yeah. So probably in a couple of weeks we're gonna release a new website, and this is kind of a little bit of a teaser of our new look, new colors and everything. And our marketing team did a great job. I really love this ad. And also we have the ad for the PG XL. I really like this line. Something so powerful, it's barely legal. That's a great line. I don't know what's the meaning of that. What do you think, Mike? Like, our amp is that rock solid that it will take 1,500 watts, just like that?
Well, yeah, and it's so easy to hook up. Actually, I'm going to digress a minute because we were talking about this before we joined. There's a switch right here. And this is where the world's going to with all ham radios and remote stuff. There's 16 ports on the switch. I know one port feeds the rest of the house out here at the cottage, and the other 15, okay, there's an input. So the other 14 have something to do with my remote station. It just blows me away how much dependent we are, but how flexible it is. Anyway, sorry, carry on, JP.
Yeah, and Dan has a question. Yes, Dan, as soon as I got the amp, I didn't have my 220 installation going on here at the shack, and I've got around 700 watts on 40 meters. That's about it with 110 volts. So it has where's the amplifier here? It has an internal switching power supply, and it will do the switch automatically. So yes, your answer is yes, you will be able to use it. No, there you go. Thank you, Mike. Yes.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna go over briefly about our discounts. We are having the 6700 on sale. You can get it now for $66.99. Also, we have the 6600M, and this is something that I would like to talk about. Some people call me over the phone and said, M means Maestro. No, I mean, the M on the model number, it means that the radio has the front panel built in. Let me see if I can show that with the camera. This is the 6600M, what I have here, and you can see it has the screen and the knobs, and it's M because it has the front panel built in. The 6600 without an M, just 6600, you will be able to operate it with a computer, so it doesn't have the front panel built in. Talking about Maestros, right?
Oh, do you want to finish the tuner question? Because I think you know.
Is there an internal? No, it doesn't have an internal tuner. We're going to be releasing some updates and news about an external tuner that is going to go with the PG XL in the upcoming months. And I've seen some demos, and it looks pretty amazing. I'm not allowed to.
Land-based, it's going to be land-based, so you're going to be able to put it in different places. We're finding out the Cat5 cable is cheaper than LMR 400, which means it's easier to put the RF stuff closer to the antenna system.
That's what you use, Cat5? I use Cat6 and Cat7 sometimes.
I use 5. I'm cheap.
No, affordable. Never use that word.
Oh, I'm thrifty.
There you go.
And then Maestros, we were going to.
Yes. So we are starting to take pre-orders on the Maestros. We're waiting for a big shipment. we ran out of a maestro. So with all this COVID situation, we got delays.
Far exceeded our forecast in build.
Yeah. So what we're doing right now is we're taking pre-orders, and we're taking off $50 of the retail price if you pre-order now. So if you're gonna get your Maestro with a $50 discount, send me an email to sales@flexradio. That's Sierra Alpha Lima Echo Sierra @flexradio.com, and I'll help you get your Maestro pre-order. So as soon as we receive it, we think it's going to be between 8 to 12 weeks, more or less. You're going to have your Maestro with $50 off. So that's what I wanted to say about the Maestros. And I think we're good to go.
Okay.
With our beloved guest, Dan. Yes.
So Dan is our Dan, what's the title? Service manager? Service support manager?
Director of Service and Support for
Thank you, Director. So carry on. I've asked Dan to join us because Dan and Dan's staff is where, when you have to deal in a post-sales role, you have a problem with something, it's Dan's amazing team of women and men that are either the ones that you talk to or go through the hardware or whatever. Dan, so tell us what got you into ham radio first, and were you an AV geek like the rest of us in high school?
I was a total geek. Like I said earlier, the the U.S. space program particularly was the one that sort of piqued my engineering interests. But then I just, it was a lot more fun building antennas and fixing up radios than some of the other activities I could do as a teenager. And that led me into an engineering track at school and eventually into my career. So I think the coolest thing for me has been that everywhere I go, I find a community of ham radio operators where I worked, whether it's Microsoft, Motorola, Amazon, any of those companies. There's a group of people that are, part of our club, really. And so you always have something interesting to talk about, and they have a very diverse set of skills. But at their heart, they're all technical people, and it's a lot of fun for me. I think that's probably the most rewarding part.
Yeah, their VCR didn't flash 12, did it?
No, it never did. Right, it never did. But I'm really not here to talk about me. I'd like more to talk about what we do in service and support. So I think you had Tim Ellison on last week, who's been with Flex Radio for a considerable period of time, and he leads the support team. And Tim does and Ken and everybody else that's associated with support does a fantastic job. On a day-to-day basis for our customers. And I think that if there was like a short version of what we do is, really our focus is on the customer and making sure that customers are happy. That's kind of the fundamental role of service and support. But we do a lot of other things that people may or may not be aware of. First of all, we're the team. And it's a group of 7 people now that has the greatest surface area for contact with our customers in the company. So on average, we have a roughly 350 or so interactions a month with customers. And they're deep interactions. They're not, hey, how are you? What's going on? It's, working with some technical issue predominantly.
It's not reboot the radio and call me back.
No, it isn't. I know that sometimes when you're interfacing, with us, we'll ask you a bunch of questions and things like that. But that's really, we're in data gathering mode so that we can, help you answer the questions. When we ask questions like that with people, it's really helping us understand the context the product is in.
It's really about how did you get there in the first place. You see this little bit, but we know there's 19 different ways you can get in, right? And
exactly
narrow it down.
Exactly. So I mean, it just from the numbers alone, 350 interactions a month. If you look at it, our entire backlog of questions, we have typically about 100 ongoing issues that we're managing on an ongoing basis, and that includes everything from helping somebody with a problem to getting a radio shipped into us for service some kind. Sometimes we work with on the commercial side. We have, we also help our commercial customers with things. So roughly about 100 ongoing incidents, and we call them incidences every day. And right now it's up a little bit because we just had a recent release, so that tends to push the numbers up a little bit. I think it's around 140 or so today. But
you're going to see that stabilize. We think that we know that 3112 is solved a big nightmare problem for us.
Yes, it has. Well, we've had a couple of them now. Past 2 releases actually have been focused on really hard problems that that we had to go deep into the system to figure out what was wrong. Everybody remembers the DAX issue with Windows updates. That's now behind us for the most part, and now the SD card issue, which was the number one concern. And that's really one of the things that we do on the service support side is we're a representative of our customer back into the organization, and we do that as we want to be a credible proxy for our customers. So we always attack the top, the big problems that people are having first, and we work the backlog, so to speak, in that regard. So we want to be really credible for our customers back to the organization, and part of it is gathering enough information that will give our engineering team the data they need to figure out what's going on. Other times it's getting hands-on and actually reproducing a problem and tracking it and helping engineering debug. In fact, the SD card problem was found by the service team. They're the ones that alerted engineering of what they saw, and that ended up in being a fix. So we're a part of the product team here, and we're very proud of that fact. And we have some really great technicians. All of the service people have worked in assembling our radios in the past. Every single one of them, that works in the Austin office, has direct hands-on experience at the factory. So that's been a real help for us because they're familiar with the radios and and they understand how they operate, and they can calibrate them and that type of thing.
Now, your team, you had to split up into shifts, right, for COVID?
We did, yeah. No, that's for COVID. When COVID came along, this was a part of Flex that couldn't stop. We had to slow it down a little bit, unfortunately, but we used to work. Most people got in really early on the service team. Most of us were in usually by 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and we would leave around 5 or 6 in the afternoon. But the COVID-19, now we have a morning shift and a swing shift, essentially. So we have people working until dark 30 to get radios, get radios fixed. So I'm real proud of the technicians and support engineers that we have. They do a great job, and they're all really concerned about the customer experience too. That's something that we look for when we hire people into those roles.
Now, we get radios, they come in it's no surprise, we use a contract manufacturer, as most companies do. The radios come in ready to go, but there's still another step because we want to be sure, correct?
Well, so the other function that the service team and support has is that we get our hands on the product before our customers do. And we're sort of the second stop between the factory and the customer to make sure that they all pass qualifications, that we do in-depth functional testing on each unit to make sure that that the out-of-box experience is as good as we can make it for our customers. We look at everything from power output across the spectrum that we have to receive sensitivity. All of that is looked at with each of the units that we manufacture and ship on to customers. And the same thing with PGXLs. PGXLs come in assembled, but we run them through a quality assurance process to make sure that they meet the specifications that we have, and that they can take a pounding. I think I was talking with someone on the forum earlier today. They were going to be doing a CW contest soon, and they were interested in knowing how hard they could push the amplifier. And one of the reasons that you can do that is that we make sure each of our products will be able to take that kind of a beating and still keep on giving good service.
Yeah.
Well, Travis was saying that he accidentally left it in transmit for it was way back a couple hours,
right,
at 800 watts, and I won't say he's probably not the first person to do that, and I've been guilty doing. Well, that's a little warm, so I know people have always worried about heat because heat's the worst part, but it does. I've never blown up. I've blown up my share of amplifiers, but only do my own stupidity because it didn't work the first time. So I tried 3 or 4 more times going into transmit until the flames came out. But that's just being typical. So for a ham, anyway. Yeah.
We've done our share too.
If you've worked in electronics, you've had capacitors explode.
Right.
I came out of avionics and just detract for a moment, but I was working beside a guy in school, and we were working on aircraft radios, and all of a sudden, it was big, loud kaboom. And in case you're not aware, aircraft radios either run on 14 volts or 28 volts. Well, not only did Tom, and I remember his name, plug a 14-volt radio into a 28-volt line, he did it backwards. Now, electrolytics, not really happy when you do that, and it bruised him right here where it exploded.
Wow.
And there was paper everywhere, and, so anyway.
The very first time I started working at Motorola service department, that was like, I don't want to say timing, but I think it was 1996. I remember the very first day they said, okay, go and check those power supplies, and that was completely on purpose. As soon as I plugged them in, a festival of explosions. So that was my christening, let's say.
And I've worked in service, and I know what it's like, and I've done some other hobby stuff where I actually get to charge for work done. But it's it's sometimes a repair you get charged an hour or two labor, and Dan, that's just what you could have really charged them, not what it really took. More often than not, right? Some of these are very complicated problems. And talk about your board swap program too.
Well, so I would say that some repairs may fall into that category, but for the most part, one, we have really knowledgeable technicians, and they really understand the radios, and that we do occasionally get a dog that comes in that baffles us, but then we have engineering that can be a backstop to us if we run into a real problem. I think I can count on one hand for sure the number of times over the past 18 months that's occurred. So but the 6400 and 6600 series radios, they're incredibly modular. And there's a couple of things that there's a lot of benefit to that for customers. If you ever open one up and look inside, one, you're not going to void the warranty if you take the cover off and look inside. Good to know.
Good to know.
Well, it's good to blow the dust out of it once in a while too.
That's
like a
right.
Computer.
If you pour a can of oil in it, that's another thing. But you would be surprised some of the things we get in radios from time to time. But there was a mouse nest in one that we've seen. That was the most interesting one. But
how did it get in? Nothing's big enough.
Well, you really hate to ask questions like that when
I'm looking, and like the biggest slot's like not very.
there was a mouse nest in there, so obviously they had the cover off or something like that for a little bit. But back to modularity. The 6400 and 6600 are highly modular, and that does a couple things. One, it gives us the ability to, instead of getting and doing component level diagnostics on a board in a radio, and taking the time to do that inside a radio, we can put a new assembly in, or an assembly in that is functional, and ship that back to the customer. That gets the radio back to the customer, and then we have a process that we refurbish the boards, the individual components that we go through, so that we're always putting known good boards. And the other thing about that is that the customer doesn't see that cost related right. So you don't get charged for a whole new assembly, you get charged for the repair, because we have enough experience with these radios. We have a good idea of what's wrong and what it would cost us to bring the board back to life. Now, on the rare occasion that doesn't work out to our benefit, but we're really more about turning the radio around and getting it back to the customer as quickly as we can.
Right, and we also have an extended warranty program as well. So you can, we come with a 2-year warranty. It's one of the best warranties in the industry. I don't think anybody else has a 2-year warranty, so I haven't looked in a while, but I should go check. But you can extend that to 4, and it just carries through. And you have to purchase that in the first 30 days of buying your radio, so you can think about it later. And you can go grab that online. There's a whole warranty section, and you put the serial.
I was going to say that,
and that's transferable too, right? So if you trade
for $89, you sell the radio, you work it into the deal. I've had it go every way, and that's good. That's again something else that nobody else really provides, and it's a bit of extra peace of mind.
Right. Yeah. So this is also a good time to talk about insurance. So
I was going to mention lightning, so there you go.
We're entering in the phase of the year, especially in North America here, where lightning damaged radios becomes mostly the majority of the radios that come back to us are usually damaged by some sort of ESD event. And the radios have ESD protection chips and everything in them, to help prevent a catastrophic sort of failure. But there's nothing that's going to protect any piece of gear from a direct lightning strike or even a near miss, with the voltages and currents that are present there. So, we have part of our service is to offer a letter that you can take to your insurance carrier that will basically tell the insurance carrier it's not economical for us to fix the radio, and give you the ability to get to new one. Now, I know that the ARRL has a really outstanding insurance program, if you're members of that organization, that has like a $50 deductible replacement cost policy.
You need to sign up for that. That's a great idea.
That is really, very cost effective. So, so please, if you don't have insurance, it's really a great thing. It makes the transaction that much smoother. But when we do see lightning damage radios, repairing them, especially the 65, 63, 6700 radios, because they aren't as modular, becomes problematic for us. And we usually recommend that the customer, even though we could probably bring it back to life after $1,000 or more worth of repair,
it's cost effective.
It isn't cost effective. The other is that we're never quite sure what latent damage has been made to the radio, and 6 months later you could have another completely unrelated a problem show up that is related actually to the ESD damage because of some weakened component. So lightning damage radios are really, really rough. But we do have, we have a letter that we'll send out that explains that to your insurance carrier, and we'll stand behind that. If you want if you want to roll the dice and fix it, we have we have an external service center that specializes in that kind of work, and also handles some of our legacy radio
And
repair.
that would be?
And that's Troy Radio Service out of Troy, Texas, just about 70 miles north of Austin. So he's at a pickups drive away from the from headquarters. And we also have Toby come in and help out from time to time in the Austin service lab when we need an extra hand.
Truly factory trained.
Truly factory trained guy.
Actually, I've met Toby. Toby's one really sharp guy.
He is. Yep.
So
when you get on Toby's good side, just buy him some catfish, and you'll be.
Catfish?
Yeah, he's a cat. He loves catfish.
Okay, so for shipping in the other part of the area, they want dark chocolate, and Toby wants catfish. Okay, great. Good to know.
Good to know.
And then for people outside of the U.S., we have
Norbert.
a European service center in Germany, so we can handle that, and we're working on scaling our service organization worldwide. So there's at some point in the future, I can't announce when, that we hope to have other outlets that would be more regionally centered for customers to keep shipping costs down and issues with customs and the like.
Good. Okay.
So,
all right, Dan, we're going to wrap this up. We have some questions we got to answer. I think I've remembered them all, but anything else you wanted to add? I'll give you a few more minutes.
well, yeah, the one thing I just wanted to say, what do you do when there's a problem, when you have an issue, right?
Oh, exactly. I was going to talk about that. Yes. I was going to.
So the first thing that you should do is, one, don't panic, right? Slow down.
breathe.
Breathe. Right. Write down the date and time and what you were doing when you noticed the problem. That's really that sort of initial point of information can be very, very helpful in diagnosis for us. So if you can and you have the ability, take screenshots or pictures using your mobile phone of what's going on. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. And then the next question is sort of like troubleshooting 101. What changed, right? If it's a problem, was there a change to your system? Is something that you added that's different? And if the answer to, then, kind of get your information together then. And then, the radio, you're still accessing the radio, save your profiles right at that point, right? And then you can start the troubleshooting process. So, what our techs will typically do is ask you to eliminate all your third-party software and any external attachments, get down to the very basic radio, which is power, Ethernet, and antenna. That's it. And then go from that point. So if you can confirm basic operation, then that's the best thing that you can do. If it doesn't work at that point, go ahead, Mark.
No, that's the first thing I ask is send me a screenshot of your smart SDR screen or a photograph, because it just everything is there and carry on. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. And then
you want to talk about, by the way, the queuing system right now because of COVID. We're a bit backed up. And that's
on that. So then the next step would be to submit a help desk ticket, and that is really easy to do. You just go to helpdesk.flexradio.com. And if you don't have an account there, you're going to be asked to sign up, and you sign up to an account into our help desk ticketing system. And
I would like to make a comment about that, Dan. It's very easy to create a support ticket right on Smart SDR, right on the help menu.
Oh yeah, yep, you can do that.
From time to time I get asked, so how do I create or open a support ticket? There you go. Yeah, that's why I shared the screen. Yeah. I'm not sure if you can see. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah, you can drop that open.
Oh, yep. Okay. Let me open it here. It says help desk. Pretty straightforward. So right from Smart SDR, you can open a support ticket and you'll have the team helping you out with your issue or question. Sometimes it's a question, right?
Right.
Mhm.
That's a real easy way to get there.
Mhm.
And then we need the basic information from you, and that's going to be the version of software that you're running, the serial number of the radio. We know what model number it is by looking at that. And so if you make sure you fill out those forms, if all that information is accessible to you, that would be that is all very helpful. So right now, because of COVID, we have a quarantine process that we have to let radios, any incoming product, sit for several days so that any chance of any infection goes away. So because we can't afford to get our people sick.
And
so
24 hours?
Well, we like to see it for a little longer. That 24 is the policy. But in order to do that, we don't have a very big shipping dock. So we don't have if you have a picture of Costco in your head, that's not us, right? Right. We're much like our dock is about the size of an average garage.
I was just going to say that, a single car garage, right?
Single car garage.
And there's stuff going in port, and Katie, man, there's stuff, and Kathy, there's stuff going in every direction.
Yep, it is a very busy spot. So so we've initiated a queuing setup so that when we issue an RMA, it'll stay in a pending queue for, right now it's about a week, maybe a little longer, week to 10 days before we'll have the radio, the radio to have it shipped to us. That just makes sure it doesn't stack up sitting in the office and back us up, and then we get it into the service as quickly as we can and turn it around as quickly as we can.
Perfect. And
So,
yeah, just amazing how much stuff you guys are still moving through there, and you're still about 80 or 90% of capacity, I think. And a lot of people have given up a lot, adjusted their personal lives a lot to make this work.
well, right, and we've been doing kind of extra efforts here to make sure that new radios are quality checked. So the additional effort that we're going through is really to make sure, especially during this time, that when you get a unit, and then you open it up, you plug it in, and you're going to have a good experience.
Okay. Somebody else asked a question regarding current on a PGXL plugged into 110. So you can run about 700 or 800 watts. That should not blow a typical 15 amp breaker. If it does, I would get an electrician involved and look at that. There's something something not right there, but it's probably the amplifier tripping breakers would just be the symptom, not necessarily the problem. So and that could be as simple, and I've seen this before, as in the fuse box. I'm not saying this is where you want an electrician, but he's shown it to me because he took a picture of my fuse box one day with an infrared camera, and I had one really hot breaker, and that's because the connections were loose.
Interesting.
So that's why we have electricians. So to do so, that's all I have. Dan, anything in closing? And
no, it's great to be on live with you, and I'm always available at dan@flexradio.com. Any posts that I make on the forum or response to customers always has my phone number on it. So, I'm not sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring. I have lots to do, but I will always get back to you. So if you ever have a concern or comment or anything you'd like to get back to the service staff, I'm here to help.
You bring up a great point too. None of us are hiding behind a voicemail. If you call us, if you get our voicemail, leave a message. We actually we actually do listen to them, and it's a number. I'm just amazed, where somebody calls and they'll call 2 or 3 times and not leave a message. And sometimes I can tell who it is. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I call them back. It depends how busy we are. But if you leave a message and tell us what's going on, then we can get called back with probably some of the answers right away. Don't just say, "Hey, it's Fred. Call me." you know, hey, you know, say, hey, I got my radio, I got the weird thing going on or something. Then I can, you
a little
know,
bit of information. Yeah.
do little things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan's team and John Patterson and stuff also. The same thing with the PGXL. You know, they PGXL goes on the bench, and they got this big dummy load. Has he got it red hot yet? But it's a big dummy load. I've seen it. And
10
kW,
kW,
right?
10 kW, yeah.
10 kilowatt dummy load. So
Wow, I didn't know that. 10K. Wow. That's another selling point.
Petter, Lima Alpha 2P, Papa India Alpha. Yes, you can have your 6700 reboot, and if you look in the manual, not to say go read the book, but there's an RCA connector on the back of the of all the 6000 series radios, and if you were just to short that on, it's called the remote connector. The radio will automatically start when the DC power comes on. I have mine hooked up to a web switch, but you also have to enable it in Smart SDR, and it says remote or something, but that should solve your problems. And yes, every remote person should have that ability. I'm going to say what I do in my talks. If you are running remote, please, it makes so much sense to actually have a laptop local to the radio that you can log into remotely, so you can do updates. The other thing you want to do for remote is throw a web key. That's what I do with these web switches. Throw a relay, a remote relay, or any way you want to do it on the CW port with a 1/4-inch jack. If you ever have to do a registration for Smart SDR again, you can quickly put the radio and transmit, and that's a security feature, and that's why that's there. So, and this is, you know, this is just this is my PC, and it actually keeps the box warm in the winter. But, you know, a Nook is a great PC for a remote, a little pricey, but you know, they're small and powerful. We use those on shows. This is a i5 with a bunch of RAM in it, and I just put an SSD card in it actually yesterday. And every couple of years, I rebuild Windows from scratch just because it's easier. And it's plenty of power. I can't run Skimmer on it because Skimmer doesn't run remotely so well. But the beauty of this is when I do a remote connection, I remote desktop into this with TeamViewer, remote desktop, AnyDesk, Google Desktop, whatever works for you. But if I lend my station to my buddies, which seem to want to use it once in a while, they just have to log into the computer, and all the digital stuff's all set up. They just, you know, they're just on the air. So
yeah, that's
like going to a person's station and going to borrow their station. You're going to sit down in front of their laptop, and then you know what? This really supports social distancing really well. You want to use it? Stay over there. So, okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And you know, we have so much fun doing this. I don't know who we're going to bring up next week, but I'll hunt down somebody in the office.
Mystery guest.
So we'll see if anybody volunteers. And and by the way, we actually discussed this in our staff meeting just an hour ago, and they're all loving it too. So and some of them watch it if they have time, or they we have a blast. We work with some of the greatest people. I have to admit, they're all wonderful.
Yeah. I want to say hi to Chris and Carl here. He was complimenting about it's not a monitor, it's a TV. It's a 43 inches TV, and please don't take away my TV from me. I just love it. And
Costco?
No, it was an open box in Walmart.
Walmart?
Yes. Great deal. And at night, you can see the entire HF spectrum, almost, and the entire HF spectrum, and it's a festival of signals. And I know I sound geek, but yeah, this is something very cool to have in your station, right. Like a big TV connected to the waterfall.
I should put one here in the boathouse. So just to tell you where I am, like right underneath my laptop right here is water because I'm sitting on the railing to the boathouse. Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7 doesn't really make a difference as long as it's good cable. And I always recommend shielded in a ham environment. I should actually do that sometime. But I am a fan of chokes. I use a lot of mixed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to try to and 60, 43, 31, and 63 mixed chokes. I choke everything. There's about 40 chokes buried in here on USB cables, on audio cables. You'll see there's one here. This is an audio loopback cable for something. I'm going to do some testing. And there was another person, Dan, this is for you. He's waiting for his radio to be called in on the queue. It's been a while. Right. So if you can email, the name rolled off the screen, but if you can email Dan at flex-radio.com.
I was up there looking at it, and on Fridays we release a bunch of radios, so that's what's going to happen today. And I don't know if his would probably be in that
Okay.
In that
Perfect.
release. Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great long weekend. I know it's probably a little strange for some people. We had our long weekend last weekend here in Canada for, May 24 weekend, which is the Queen's birthday. And I've forgotten until someone reminded me. So,
And remember, Dayton sales ends on
Tuesday.
The 25th. So
Thank you.
start clicking around.
My tax. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, take
Yeah.
care.
Have a great long weekend, everybody. I hope.
Thank you so much. I'll meet everybody on the bands.
70.
And- For those of you that were in military service here for the U.S., thank you very much for your
Thank
service.
you for your service.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
All right. Okay.
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend. Take care.
And